Ava Harper, a spirited 18-year-old with chestnut hair that fell in wild curls and hazel eyes that sparkled with ambition, had always dreamed of escaping her small hometown. Raised in a quiet suburb where the biggest excitement was the annual fair, she'd spent her high school years tethered to Jake Miller, her high school sweetheart. Jake, a rugged 19-year-old with sandy hair and a gentle smile, was her rock, loyal, predictable, and deeply in love. They'd promised each other forever, sealing it with kisses under the oak tree in her backyard when Ava earned a scholarship to Crestwood College, a prestigious school 3 states away. Jake supported her dream, even though it meant long distance. "We'll make it work," he'd said, his voice steady. Ava believed him, her heart swelling with hope as she packed her bags in late August 2025. Crestwood was a revelation. The ivy-covered buildings, the hum of intellectual energy, and the freedom of being on her own intoxicated her. She majored in literature, her love for stories driving her. But the real shock came on her first day of romantic poetry, taught by Professor Daniel Pierce. At 38, Daniel was a magnetic figure. Tall, with dark hair streaked with silver, piercing gray eyes, and a voice that could melt steel. His tailored suits hugged his athletic frame, and his lectures were laced with a charisma that left students spellbound. Ava noticed him immediately, her pulse quickening when his gaze lingered on her during a discussion of Byron's Passion. She brushed it off as admiration for her insight, but a spark ignited. The first semester passed in a blur of late-night study sessions and video calls with Jake. He sent her letters, each one filled with longing, while Ava's responses grew shorter, her mind drifting. The distance strained them, missed calls, misinterpreted texts, but she clung to their love, a lifeline to her past. Then in November, everything changed. After a late class, Ava stayed behind to ask about a paper. The classroom was empty, the air thick with the scent of old books. Daniel leaned against his desk, his shirt sleeves rolled up, revealing toned forearms. "Ava," he said, his voice low, "your analysis was intoxicating." Her breath caught as he stepped closer, his fingers brushing her hand while handing her a marked essay. The touch sent a jolt through her, forbidden and electric. Over the next weeks, their interactions deepened. Daniel found excuses to meet her, office hours that stretched into intimate conversations, compliments that bordered on flirtation. He spoke of his failed marriage, his hunger for connection, and Ava, naive yet curious, listened, her heart racing. One snowy evening, as they reviewed poetry in his office, the tension snapped. The fireplace crackled, casting shadows on the walls. Daniel's hand rested on hers, his thumb tracing circles. "You're not like the others," he murmured, his lips hovering near hers. Ava hesitated, thinking of Jake, but the pull was too strong. Their kiss was a wildfire, hungry, desperate, his hands sliding under her sweater, hers clutching his hair. The affair began that night, a secret born in the glow of forbidden desire. The illicit romance consumed Ava. They met in hidden corners, his office after hours, a secluded cabin he owned, where she'd trace the scars on his back as he whispered her name. Daniel was a master of seduction, his experience a stark contrast to Jake's boyish affection. He'd blindfold her, his touch exploring every inch, or pin her against the wall, his breath hot against her neck. Ava reveled in the power, the danger, her guilt buried under waves of pleasure. She lied to Jake, study groups, extra credit, each deception a thread in a web she couldn't escape. But the cracks showed. Jake grew suspicious, his calls more frequent, his voice tinged with hurt. "You sound different," he said one night, and Ava's stomach twisted. She reassured him, but the lies piled up. Meanwhile, Daniel's intensity escalated. He demanded more, secret texts during class, a promise to leave Jake. Ava, torn, felt the thrill souring into fear. One night in the cabin, he grew possessive, his grip tightening as he growled, "You're mine now." The words chilled her, a reminder of the control she'd surrendered. The tension peaked in February 2006. Ava's roommate, Mia, noticed her late returns and found a silk scarf, Daniel's gift, tucked in her bag. Confronted, Ava confessed, tears streaming. Mia urged her to end it, but Ava was trapped, Daniel's hold too strong. Then disaster struck. Jake, unable to bear the distance, surprised her with a visit. He arrived at her dorm as Ava slipped out to meet Daniel, her phone left behind. Jake saw the texts, explicit, damning, and followed her. He burst into the cabin, finding Ava and Daniel in a heated embrace, her blouse half off, his hands roaming. "Ava," Jake's voice broke, his face a mask of betrayal. Chaos erupted. Ava screamed, pushing Daniel away. But the damage was done. Jake fled, his sobs echoing in the snow. Daniel, furious, grabbed her arm. "You'll regret this," he hissed, his charm replaced by menace. Ava wrenched free, running into the night, her mind a swim. She returned to find Mia packing her things, unwilling to stay. The college buzzed with rumors, professor-student scandal, a heartbroken boyfriend. Daniel faced an investigation, his career teetering, while Ava was suspended pending review. Weeks later, Jake confronted her in a park, his eyes red. "Why?" he whispered. Ava, broken, admitted the thrill, the power, and her shame. He walked away, leaving her alone. Daniel was fired, his parting glare a threat. But Ava refused to testify, fearing his retaliation. She dropped out, returning home a shadow of herself, haunted by the affair's wreckage. Yet the story didn't end. Months later, a letter arrived, anonymous, with a photo of Daniel watching her house. The tension lingered, a dark promise of unfinished business, leaving Ava to wonder if her forbidden lesson would ever release its grip. Ava's return to her hometown in March 2026 was a hollow victory. The small suburb, once a sanctuary, now felt like a cage. The anonymous letter with Daniel's photo haunted her, its implications a constant whisper in her mind. She took a job at a local cafe, avoiding college applications, her dreams of literature replaced by the clink of coffee cups. Jake was gone, his silence a wound that refused to heal. Mia had stopped responding, and Ava's parents, sensing her shame, tiptoed around her. The scandal at Crestwood had faded from public view, but for Ava, it lived in every glance from old classmates. Then, one rainy April night, the past resurfaced. Ava was closing the cafe when the door creaked open. Daniel Pierce stepped in, his presence a jolt of fear and forbidden memory. His silver-streaked hair was disheveled, his gray eyes darker, a scar marring his cheek, perhaps from the fallout. "You thought you could ruin me and walk away?" he snarled, locking the door. Ava's heart pounded as he advanced, his suit jacket discarded to reveal a lean, menacing frame. I lost everything. My career, my reputation, because of you. Ava backed against the counter, her voice trembling. I didn't mean... But he cut her off, grabbing her wrist. You loved it, he hissed, his breath hot with wine. The air thickened as he pressed himself against her, his hand sliding up her thigh, reigniting that old treacherous heat. Despite her fear, her body betrayed her, a flicker of the passion they'd shared. He kissed her roughly, his teeth grazing her lip, and for a moment she was lost, until his grip tightened, pain snapping her back. You owe me, he growled, pushing her toward the back room. But Ava fought. Grabbing a coffee pot, she swung it, the glass shattering against his shoulder. He stumbled, cursing, and she fled into the rain, her screams swallowed by the storm. She reported him to the police, trembling, as she recounted the assault. Evidence, his DNA on her clothes, the broken pot, led to his arrest. The trial was a media frenzy, Daniel's defense painting Ava as a seductress, but her testimony, raw and tearful, swayed the jury. He was convicted of assault and harassment, sentenced to 3 years, his glare at her sentencing a promise of vengeance. Ava's life shifted. The town rallied around her, her bravery a redemption. But the scars remained. She began therapy, her nights plagued by nightmares of Daniel's touch. Yet a strange empowerment grew. She'd survived, reclaimed her agency. The letter's sender remained a mystery, but she suspected a vengeful ally of Daniel's, a loose end left dangling. By summer 2027, Ava, now 20, stood on the shore of her hometown beach, the sun warming her scars. The cafe job had morphed into a small business, her own bookshop, a tribute to her lost dreams. Therapy had untangled her guilt, and she'd written a memoir, Forbidden Pages. Its release a quiet triumph. The royalties funded her return to college, this time locally, where she studied with a renewed focus. One afternoon, a letter arrived, not anonymous, but from Jake. His words were gentle. I've healed. I forgive you. I'm happy now. Tears fell as Ava read, a weight lifting. They met once, a bittersweet coffee where he introduced his fiancée, a kind woman who smiled warmly. No romance rekindled, but a friendship bloomed, a bridge over their past. Daniel's appeal failed, his imprisonment a distant echo. Ava's bookshop thrived, her story inspiring others. As waves crashed, she felt the tension dissolve, her forbidden lesson a chapter closed. The future stretched before her, uncertain, but hers to write. By summer 2027, Ava, now 20, stood on the shore of her hometown beach, the sun warming her scars. The cafe job had morphed into a small business, her own bookshop, a tribute to her lost dreams. Therapy had untangled her guilt, and she'd written a memoir, Forbidden Pages. Its release a quiet triumph. The royalties funded her return to college, this time locally, where she studied with a renewed focus. One afternoon, a letter arrived, not anonymous, but from Jake. His words were gentle. I've healed. I forgive you. I'm happy now. Tears fell as Ava read, a weight lifting. They met once, a bittersweet coffee where he introduced his fiancée, a kind woman who smiled warmly. No romance rekindled, but a friendship bloomed, a bridge over their past. Daniel's appeal failed, his imprisonment a distant echo. Ava's bookshop thrived, her story inspiring others. As waves crashed, she felt the tension dissolve, her forbidden lesson a chapter closed. The future stretched before her, uncertain, but hers to write. Check out more gripping stories on this channel. Subscribe, like, and share with your friends.